With those words, I commend the motion.
Senator Reynolds.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It wasn't a fire, it was a monster, like a tornado. This is how Tim Solway described the inferno that tore through the family dairy farm near Cobargo in New South Wales. The ferocious bushfire on that New Year's Eve took the lives of his father Patrick and his brother Robert. Patrick leaves behind a legacy larger than his life, and his 20 grandchildren will remember his generosity and also his love. Robert leaves behind his pregnant wife Renee and their tiny son Harley. For Tim, Renee, young Harley and thousands of other Australians, those fires have changed their life forever. Their memories have been singed with the blaze, their heavy ache of loss. The uncertainty that gnaws through the days and months that will follow, but also the hope that can surprise. Tim Solway had been trying to convince himself that maybe it wasn't really that bad, but he figured when the army turned up to help, it must be pretty darn bad. The massive job of clearing his paddocks, fixing fences, getting equipment running again, finding the strength to face it all, was almost impossible to think of and to tackle alone. But when a few soldiers mucked in and gave Tim a hand, they saved the Solways at least a month of work, and they gave them the hope that surprises. Over 6,500 members of our ADF, 3,000 of them reservists, have been working in Australia's fire-torn communities since early September last year, and they've been joined by our outstanding international partners. 70 nations offered assistance, and over 350 foreign personnel are today still working to rebuild local communities across New South Wales and Victoria, shoulder to shoulder with the ADF. Operation Bushfire Assist is the largest ADF mobilisation for domestic disaster relief in our nation's history. Today, our ADF are still out there and will be for as long as it takes, supporting the extraordinary work of our emergency services, our volunteers and our recovery teams. Hundreds of people, many with their beloved pets, relocated to safety. Defence bases opened as temporary accommodation. Tens of thousands of meals served. Hundreds of tankers of fuel and millions of litres of water delivered. Thousands of kilometres of roads cleared. The sheer volume of people and military equipment deployed across the nation says something of the magnitude of Operation Bushfire Assist. But the statistics themselves, as impressive as they are, say little of the humanity involved in every quiet helping hand and the courage, the dignity and the resilience of those whose hands they've held. Australians elect us in this place to make laws for the common good, to reflect their values, to reflect their aspirations, and to take care of the nation when big things happen beyond state and territory borders. Well, a very big thing happened this summer to our nation, and sadly is still happening. And Australians are looking to all of us, the government and the parliament, to take care of our nation. As Minister for Defence, my finest examples of the care are the efforts of our servicemen and women through these past months of devastation. And it's not just the quantifiable, visible support that has been so evident across the nation. It is also the quiet, thousands of random acts of kindness that have brought hope. On Kangaroo Island, Army vets treating koala burns, Army engineers rebuilding koala pens, feeding and caring for hundreds of koalas and other native animals. When the fires were raging on Kangaroo Island, Richard Lang and his son Clayton hooked up their trailer and water tanker and headed out to help whomever they could. When they hit car trouble on the Playford Highway, sadly their vehicle was overcome by fire. Now, Richard's nephew, Lieutenant Kynan Lang, is an Army reservist in South Australia. And when the call came to serve on Operation Bushfire Assist, he was there in a flash. And he's still there today, carrying on his family's work to get Kangaroo Island thriving once again. All over Australia, we've seen people pitching in, doing whatever they can to protect families, neighbourhoods, streets and their communities. Many of our service personnel themselves over the last few months have been impacted, as have their families, but still they put up their hand and continued to serve other communities. And sometimes, no matter how hard we try, how much we love, the worst still happens. And just when we feel like we have nothing left, Lieutenant Lang turns up to help us all dig deep, to remind us of what matters and what we're capable of together as Australians. In Malakuta, so many of us will recall the footage that made international headlines of our Royal Australian Air Force Spartan crews flying through East Gippsland skies that were stained orange and red by the choking clouds of ash, their visibility reduced to almost zero. But despite the conditions and the poor runways, our crews managed to deliver vital supplies to so many small communities that were cut off by fire, and to airlift stranded tourists and townsfolk from Malakuta and also Merimbula. And for children under 5, our crews on the Spartans and the Chinooks and Black Hawks found a way to take special care of these children and get them out to safety and reuniting them with their families. The makeshift dog pen in the hold of HMAS Choules is already something of a legend. The Choules evacuated 1,400 people from Malakuta to Western Port Bay, along with 21 tonnes of supplies and, very importantly, beer for the local pub. HMAS Sycamore and Adelaide 2 positioned off the coast of Gippsland and the New South Wales south coast, providing essential support to isolated communities right up and down the south coast. Following the fires, the routines of daily life don't just pick back up. Things that would normally be simple become challenging, and things that would normally be challenging can become life-threatening. This was the case for Sarah Tyrrell when she went into labour on Australia Day. For 3 days following New Year's Eve, the fires had raged around her rural family home in Brogo, New South Wales. The Tyrrell's property had been saved thanks to the hard work of her husband, armed with a water pump and some favourable winds. But the roads to their property were badly impacted, and it was clear to our ADF personnel on the ground that they could get there a lot faster to Cobargo than an ambulance could from Bega. So without losing a moment, medical staff, Corporal Christy Connell and Private Nicholas Brimmer, were called to respond to this task, were called off their task to respond. They took to the winding dirt roads, slicing through the fire-ravaged countryside to the cut-off community of Brogo. When they arrived, Troop Signaller Private Murray Ritchie set up satellite communications equipment to ensure contact with incoming medical teams. And before long, Sarah was on her way to Bega Hospital in an ambulance with Corporal Connell and Private Brimmer alongside, assisting the paramedics on their journey. And within minutes of arrival, a healthy baby Ivy was born, oblivious to the drama of her birth. And its poignancy and its power too, in the midst of utter destruction, isolation and grief, came new life and fresh hope. So, Mr. Acting Deputy President, today we remember those who sacrificed all. They sacrificed all while protecting life and community in the face of catastrophic fires. We remember their loved ones who carry the memories, the loss and the uncertainty with them through the days, the months and the years to follow. And we dearly hope for them all that hope surprises soon. We acknowledge the skill, the grit and the compassion of our emergency services personnel, our volunteers, the member of the ADF, and all of those international friends who so readily came to our aid. I honour and thank all those who have served, suffered, and to the 33 who made the ultimate sacrifice. As a parliament, we are here to take care of the nation when big things happen. While so many Australians have been at work for months fighting the fires and salvaging razed communities, our work here is only beginning. There is a great deal more to do over the many years to rebuild lives and livelihoods, restoring health, restoring well-being and restoring hope, and dealing with the realities of our climate and our environment. This is what Australians expect and ask of us all in this place. And I thank, in conclusion, for everybody who has served, suffered and sacrificed. Thank you.